Hello, how's it going, champs? Thanks for being there. This is The World. Maldini, your channel. I want to make this video that I promised you yesterday, of course. Tomorrow I will be in Barcelona to comment on the Copa semi-final on Movistar, Barça Atlético de Modric, and on Wednesday in San Sebastián. You will have videos from the stadiums of both semi-finals, but I want to make this video report and Wisecout. Let's listen to Carlo Ancelotti, because I want to make this video to talk about the match Luka Modric played. I promised you we are going to talk about the match Luka Modric played, but also friends of the world, Maldini, we are also going to delve into a detail about Kylian Mbappé and about Vinicius. Modric's team won 2-0 against Girona. It was a comfortable match for Real Madrid, but let's see. The main character of the match was Luka Modric for what he did, for the goal he scored. Every time Luka Modric plays starting at the Bernabeu, it's an event, because it's clear that there's little time left to enjoy Luka Modric. I gave him an outstanding grade in the ratings that you've surely already seen for this match. And it was a spectacle. As Luka Modric is, the ability to move the team, the intelligence he had to participate everywhere, to be everyone's partner. As I told you yesterday, one day I have to speak well of Osvaldo Ardiles and what they said about Ardiles, but let's listen to Carlo Ancelotti and then we'll dive in. In the Wisecout report, the first detail talks about Luka Modric.
I've already said it before, Modric is a gift or a blessing for football, so he has to continue. As long as he wants to. He is, what he does very well. I think football has, we, Real Madrid, are lucky to have a legend, and he has marked an era here. Football has a great gift in his seriousness, his quality, his professionalism.
Well, logically, praises for Luka Modric from Carlo Ancelotti are logical. It's logical. It's also logical that he isn't a starter in many matches. Because Luka Modric here, he is greeting the crowd, Luka Modric. It's evident that at his age, he is going to turn 40. Then Ancelotti is going to talk about that topic and we will also listen to him. But of course, at the level he occasionally shows when starting a match, it's spectacular. And maybe Luka Modric ends up being a very important man in the decisive matches of the season. Time will tell. What we already know is that when he comes in, he performs wonderfully and I want you to see because it's a spectacle. Here we have the Wisecout report from yesterday of Luka Modric from the Real Modric match. 2-0. Here you have it. 1 in 27 actions, of which 107 are correct. 84%, 92% of passes. On top of that, he scored a great goal. Playing better is really difficult. 85% of forward passes. And he only loses 2 lateral passes and, of course, no backward passes. And look at the map of actions on the field. Except in the last meters, here he does lose more actions. But in the first half, he plays closer to the opponent's field and practically doesn't lose a single action in this area, in this entire area of influence, logically. And then, in the second half, the team pulls back a little more. At times, the match was 1-0 and he plays a few meters further back. Here you have it. The different zones of influence of Luka Modric as the match demanded. Yes or no? And then, logically, the changes in play he made, short passes, medium passes, long passes, spectacular. Performance by Luka Modric and his match. And well, really, all of this is very significant regarding what he can still contribute. Luka Modric, here we have more passes with Tchouaméni, also with Luka Vázquez, and also with Mendy. And look, 27 passes. Between those given to him and those he gives to Luka Vázquez as right back. And 27 to Mendy. That is to say, he distributes the play magnificently. 34 with Tchouaméni, 26 with Modric. In other words, spectacular way of being an all-rounder by Luka Modric yesterday in the match. It's hard to believe he's 40 years old. Sometimes it's hard to believe, but he is. But you have already seen in the Wisecout report how the Wisecout report defines very well what this man Luka Modric did yesterday, which I thought, well, was tremendous. I also want us to see something else. So we can take a look at the ball circulation of Real Modric, which is something I always like to show you. In the reports, Wisecout, now we continue listening to Ancelotti, who is going to talk about Vinicius, and I want to make a note about Kylian Mbappé, but first so that, well, you have already seen the influence, but here we are going to see it. Also, the influence of Luka Modric in Real Modric. Because, of course, here you also have exactly friends of the world, Maldini. Look, in the midfield axis, pure midfield axis, that number 10, everything goes through him. Look, at the length of the lines, it means that the thicker the line, the more 1-2s there have been in this direction. Right, left, back forward, right, left, back forward, spectacular, spectacular. The football performance that Luka Modric gave yesterday, that's how it is. It was tremendous, spectacular, the football performance that Luka Modric gave. I also want to talk about Vinicius, and we are going to listen first to Carlo Ancelotti about what Vinicius did yesterday and that little connection with Kylian Mbappé. But I talk about Vinicius, and then I'll tell you a detail that I find very important, which I mentioned yesterday in the post-match video, but I think it's really worth giving a little more attention to the Kylian Mbappé situation. Ancelotti talks about Vinicius.
I have seen Vinicius at his best. He could have had a bit more accuracy in front of the goal, but he was, in the second half, unstoppable. Every time they tried to face him, they faced him well. They had the opportunity to score. He played a match at his level.
I completely agree with Carlo Ancelotti. Again, for me, the second half was a match at his level. I've seen better matches from Vinicius, you know? I've seen better matches from Vinicius, but this match was a high-level match, especially for me. The second half, looking for 1-2s. It's true that he needed to finish a little better in the final meters, although he ends up scoring this goal against Gazzaniga, the 2-0, after the magnificent pass from Kylian Mbappé. A very complete match from Vinicius, which we can also see here in the Wisecout report. The Wisecout report is like cotton, it doesn't lie, friends of the world. Maldini, the Wisecout report never lies. Here we have 70 actions, 39 correct, 56%, but of course 72% passing accuracy. And above all, the damage. He attempted 11 dribbles, of which 8 were successful. That is to say, he was very accurate in dribbling, always, of course, in dangerous areas, because that is the key. And here is Vinicius' area of influence, which in the end, even though he played a bit more yesterday, along with Kylian Mbappé with that 4-4-2 that Sinju Bellingham set up. Now, I want to talk quite a bit about the topic of Mbappé and Bellingham, but he played on the left. Here we have it. A little more attached to the left wing, and a very good match from Vinicius. For me, a very good match from Vinicius. What did I want to tell you about Kylian Mbappé? Let's get into the topic of Mbappé, and then we'll listen to Carlo Ancelotti with a final reflection that I find very interesting about Luka Modric. Yesterday, Mbappé wanted to be Mbappé and Bellingham at the same time, and let me explain. Jude Bellingham wasn't there, just as he won't be in the Betis match, just as he won't be in the Atletico match with Modric. And Mbappé, at times he wanted to play that dual role. He is a player who is always active. Without the ball, he wants to seek the ball and often left the forward position, which is the position closest to the area. He causes damage. He causes damage in space, but he is also a very skillful player. And everything I'm telling you, we will also see with the Wisecout report, because I've taken 3 screenshots for you to see. Friends of the world, Maldini. Here we have one of them. Look, this is the position I was talking about for Kylian Mbappé. Do you see here, as he drops quite a bit? I mean, he has Modric ahead, Vinicius ahead. This is a position for Bellingham. This is a position for Bellingham. And he spent, especially in the first half, looking for these intermediate positions in the midfield, in the 3 quarters of the field. I think that harms him. What happens is that maybe that's what Modric needed. From him, personally, it might harm him. He played a great match. And he was the one who tried to compensate. That drop, which is extremely important for Jude Bellingham, here you have it again. Look, where Kylian Mbappé is, receiving with his back to the goal and far from the area, very far from the area. This aspect of Kylian Mbappé is not the best for him, obviously. Here you have it, a positional attack from Real Madrid, and he has Mendy, Vinicius, Modric, Abraham, and Luka Vazquez ahead of him. 5 players ahead of the ball and ahead of him. And he is with Luka Modric. Again, Bellingham position. That's right, Bellingham position. This is the role that Kylian Mbappé played yesterday. And I wanted to highlight it because it seems to me to show tremendous commitment. Another thing is that, and it's true, another thing is whether it can harm or benefit him. I won't get into that. I think, well, yes, I will get into that. It harms him a little, in my opinion. But it can benefit the team, right? Personally, it harms him. Even so, Kylian Mbappé played a great match. And let's see. About Mbappé, friends of the world, Maldini, I know you really like the reports. Wisecout, that's why we do them here on your channel. 76 actions, 82 correct, 91% passing accuracy. An incredible feat. 4 dribbles out of 7 attempted. He provided an assist, of course, and here you have the actions on the field. Notice the actions in this area. All this area, there in the middle of the field, in the 3 quarters of the field, in the Bellingham position. That's how it is. Yesterday, Bellingham wasn't there, and sometimes he occupied that position. Well, it's what he thought he had to do. He's a very intelligent player on the field, and in the end, well, he was very important, certainly. As we see here, the magnificent shot by Luka Modric. We are going to finish this Wisecout report by listening to the words that I find very interesting from Carlo Ancelotti a little more about Luka Modric.
I have an example. I had another player who was 40 years old and won a Champions League, who was Maldini. I think that the two can be perfectly compared in that's what a footballer has to be. It's a fantastic example. It's no coincidence that they have reached 40. Obviously, an important part is genetics, but above all, the seriousness, professionalism, commitment, the attitude they have, and that is the only way to reach 40, as Carlo Maldini has, and as Luka Modric will.
Well, it can't be said any clearer about Carlo Ancelotti. A tribute to this man. I truly believe that without Luka Modric's professionalism, it's impossible. He has the talent, because he has it. Logically, he has the talent. Luka Modric can be perfected, but there are things that can't be learned. He has that. That comes from childhood, from when he played at Dinamo Zagreb, which, by the way, we have to see some footage of him at Dinamo Zagreb someday, as I have many of his matches from when he was starting out. But that's something you have. And then there's the extreme professionalism that Luka Modric has. Anyway, more tomorrow, friends of the world, Maldini. I invite you, by the way, since we see Luka Modric here, to tonight's Despejados from 10 to 11. Because we had a former Real Madrid player as a guest, not with as long a career as Luka Modric, it's true, but we had a great time with him and you're going to enjoy it. Tomorrow I'll be in Barcelona to comment on that Barca versus Atletico de Modric match, and I also want to make a video for you before the match video when I'm at the stadium about an interesting reflection that I think I need to share with you, and I want your opinion, which has a lot to do with Barca. That will be tomorrow. A hug, bye.